All right, guys. So we are here with Victor Mathieu, director of the found footage movie The Monster Project from 2017. How you doing, Victor?
Good. How's it going, man? Thanks for having me.
No, yeah, of course. Thanks for coming on. I actually just finished rewatching the film just so I can have some things fresh in my head. But this is a movie that I recommend to pretty much any found footage fan that because this is a lesser known one. So every time someone's looking for recommendations, it's one of the first ones I always recommend.
I appreciate that a lot, man. Thank you.
No, no, of course, it's a great film, and I know a lot. I've gotten a few people, horror fans, friends of mine, into found footage that weren't into the whole found footage genre because of the criticism you hear every now and then of nothing really happens or it's just a lot of arguing and stuff. But I tell them, check this movie out because once shit hits the fan, it just relentless and doesn't stop till the end. And it's not something you see often in that genre.
Yep, that was the plan.
Yeah, and
Right.
so tell me how this
Yeah.
whole project came together, the whole idea for the movie, and how organically it came together.
Sure. So back in I want to say 2013, which is a long time ago now. It's coming on 10 years.
I
Uh,
can't believe
I had
I don't.
become very close friends with Phil Siebel or Philip Siebel, who had ended up being the director of photography, producer on the film, and the editor on the film, and basically my partner in crime on the film. And we really wanted, yeah, a long time ago. And so we really wanted to make a film together. And so we came up. I kept coming up with all kinds of ideas, but they were all too expensive to make. And then I remember I was driving him to Ralph's, I think, at some point, and while I was waiting for him to come back from Ralph's, I was sitting in the car, and I was thinking of this movie, The Hamiltons, which was one of the 8 films to die for, and I really liked kind of this twist that all this family, this whole group of people throughout the whole film. At the end, you find out they're vampires, and I just got this idea of making a found footage film of a group of people that go to interview um, a family of a family of folks that end up actually being vampires and shit hits the fan, and then for marketing reasons, quickly, all in like 10 minutes, while I was sitting in the car, for marketing reasons, I started to think, what if you mixed into that the idea that it was, that you also had a werewolf, and then on top of a vampire and also a demon, and then the werewolf became the skinwalker, and came back in the car, and I told him real quick the idea, and he fell in love with it. And so that's kind of how it started. That same night, we went to, I think, Rite Aid or something like that, bought a piece of like a tape, which we ended up ripping, put it on Phil's camera, wrote the Monster Project, which we kind of redo that moment in the Monster Project in the first 5 minutes of the film. And that's kind of how it started. And then I think 2 years later, or two and a half, 3 years later, we started shooting the film. And then after that, the whole process of fundraising and finding the locations, and then having to switch and rewrite the script for another location. That's a whole long story. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's how it started.
that's
Oh,
actually
and
you
then
just.
and then let me mention real quick, sorry, that the only reason also why the film ended up actually moving forward, also I would say, is because of Jim Beinke's contribution to the special effects of the film. The film is pretty special effects heavy, and I known Jim for maybe about 2 years. He'd done some creature work for some projects I've been working on, and so he hates the found footage genre with a to his core. But somehow my friend John Braver ended up convincing him to read the script, and he read it and fell in love with the script, and so he was in, and not only was he in, but he decided to just be an executive producer on the film, so we would have no upfront expenses on any of the special effects, and he was going to fabricate all of that on his own dime, and create all the molds and really all the cool stuff that you see in the film. So that was really amazing. Yeah.
No, nice. You actually touched on two questions that I was definitely going to get into. One of them was what was like how quickly did you come up with the three specific monsters for the movie? Like that was going to be one question I had was why a werewolf, why a vampire, and why a demon? With so many monsters that are out
In ten
there in
minutes, 10 minutes of sitting in a car, that fast.
That's all.
I'll tell you that the werewolf was like hands down has to happen because I'm a huge fan of the Goosebumps video game Escape from Horrorland by Arl Stein, and I love that werewolf chase sequence that's in the video game. And I kind of like go for that a little bit in the found footage genre through the woods. And if you can compare the video game chase sequence with the werewolf to that sequence, this kind of some similarities a little bit.
I actually know exactly what you're talking about. This is wild because me and my younger sister, she and I used to play that game all the time when it came out. And like I grew up on like the Goosebumps books. And I know the exact chase sequence you're talking about. Like you're going the wrong way, and it was a hard chase sequence on that
exactly. Yeah, left, right, straight.
Yeah. Oh, that's wild. But so I'm guessing you're a big found footage fan because I was going to ask why found footage style to do this, because this is, some found footage movies you can see like having to go down that route, but this is an idea that you could have done not in the found footage way. Like, so is it just your love for the genre?
Listen, a lot of people try to convince me to steer away from the found footage, method of doing it. I just like the feeling that it creates of this like realism, type of vibe where you really feel like it's happening and you're in it. And I like I used to play a lot of Call of Duty. So I also love like the first person action type of perspective as well. Okay. And so I kind of wanted to combine kind of that concept with monsters and basically it was kind of like me combining a bunch of stuff that I really enjoyed at the time. And I also, when I came up with that idea, I think that's right around the time that Paranormal Activity 2 had just come out. So found footage was hot. And it's just by the time that we shot it, and then it took us about 1.5 years to complete post-production and then release it, and then had the popularity of that subgenre had kind of plummeted. So just the timing also wasn't the best. But I just really like the fact that you really feel like you're in it when it's happening. And so, yeah.
No, that makes absolute sense. And I feel like it's very effectively used in this movie. Like even with the addressing the fact of not having phones to call for help, which you see in a lot of found footage movies, that situation, and it's not handled the best in decent amount of these movies. But just to not, create any frequencies or to mess with the recordings for the interviews and stuff. It's a neat idea to take the phones out of play.
Right. Also, it was kind of a bullshit excuse from his part, but yeah, it works.
Course. Yeah, I mean, when we find out what his whole plan is here in the movie. But while we're talking about found footage, what's your favorite found footage films?
Listen, I have to say, a tie between Paranormal Activity and Blair Witch. I mean, I think that Paranormal Activity is, scares the shit out of me still to this day. Blair Witch is a classic. So, I'd say like, I'd have to go with Blair Witch just because of how just amazing that film is. Yeah. But the scariest one is Paranormal Activity, in my opinion.
No, nice picks.
What about you?
Creep actually is probably my favorite. Not just because,
Creep
but
is good. That's a good one. That's funny.
Because of Mark Duplass's performance in that movie. For me, it's the best performance in a found footage film. Like every time I watch that movie, I can't take my eyes off the screen. Like just because of how convincing he is as this serial killer, this crazy lunatic that you don't know anything that's coming out of his mouth is a lie or the truth. So you have to. It's a great character study.
Peach Fuzz.
Like, Peach Fuzz.
It's a very good character study.
Yeah, excellent film. And Grave Encounters I've always loved, which I feel some Grave Encounters.
Grave Encounters is awesome.
Yeah, I feel some.
I forgot about that one for a second. Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah, the Grave Encounters. So we have a dream sequence kind of in this movie, which when I first saw this, I don't think I saw it the year it came out, but maybe 2 years afterwards on Tubi. And when that happened, like I was fucking loving this movie already up till then. I said, wow, we're getting like something you don't see often in a found footage film. So I always take that as, I guess it still works, that I guess the demon is projecting this reality or just messing with his brain in front of him, and the camera happens to be picking up wherever he's sent, like in his head or in whatever the demon's doing to mess with him.
I'd say that it's like up to your own interpretation, but my approach with it is that the demon kind of for a moment in time freezes time and gets and absorbs him, right, and takes him into his or her own world and gets real personal to torment him and to bring up some real deep trauma, just really to torture him psychologically. There's no worse torture really than psychological torture, and so that was the reason for that approach. And also, it was part of the storyline of revealing who these three initial on his leg and what are some of his own personal demons. But I'll be very honest with you also, and I hadn't really had that question yet, so it'll be a fun one to answer. But the reason why we went that route also was a creative solution to a problem that we encountered, which was that from what we shot during principal photography, we didn't have a completed scene in that basement. We had such a hard time with stunts with that demon, levitation stunts, such a difficult time. And we always ended up going to the basement at the end of the day to try and rush to get a few more shots in. And by the time we finished production we started cutting, we realized when we finished the first cut, we're like, oh shoot, we don't have enough footage to cut that scene together. And so with the help of Corbin Billings, who's one of the investors, we sat down and we creatively, collectively came up with a scene for a 2-day reshoot that we did to fix that problem, and that was what we came up with. And I think ended up pretty damn cool. That's the last thing we shot on our day of reshoot before we went out to the woods to shoot also this forest sequence, this forest chase sequence, which was the very last thing we shot.
Nice. And that's cool to hear that backstory on it, because like when I first saw it, it was just something that I've never seen in a found footage film before, but it still worked for me 100%.
Yeah, I thought that was. Thanks, man. I thought it was really cool to see those druggies that ended up passing away just come back as ghosts and just kind of had this really eerie kind of factor, and all the haze and fog, and we were going to go a little further with it and have Shiori levitate midair, but we did what we could with our budget, and ended up pretty damn cool.
No, yeah, I absolutely love that scene, and just the actor who played Brian, his performance is amazing in this movie. Like, everybody does a great job, but for me, he's the standout in this. Like, what an amazing job he did this movie, portraying that this trying to recover drug addict and living with all the guilt and everything that he caused by selling his friends this bad batch of drugs, and that him turning to religion and having the demon pretty much be able to prey on him the most for being the most vulnerable. And just, he played the role so well in this movie. Like, what was the inspiration behind his character, about writing his character?
So the role of Brian, it's funny. It comes from so originally when Phil and I came up with the idea, he was living with two people. One of them was Shariah Lynn, who ended up being my co-writer for the film, and the other person, his name was Brian Jansen, and he was going to be the lead actor in the film. And so some of the characters is like based on him loosely, and none of this like drug thing is really involved, but some kind of like psychology behind the character was inspired, and we were going to try and really just use his own personality for the role. And then Corbin Billings, who ended up also doing a rewrite to the script, ended up adding some of that kind of redemption kind of concept to the role of Brian, which was tied in with the people that he had accidentally killed, right, with selling the bad batches of drugs, and then the full circle towards the end. So that's kind of where it all evolved, and yeah, there's a few different reasons.
No, yeah, well, it all came together damn well, because I love his performance in this movie. I love his character. Just his whole little, like you said, like a little redemption arc is another added bonus to this movie. that you don't see a lot in a decent amount of found footage movies, to have a character with like that much depth.
Yeah, no, Toby was really fun to work with, and he was he had quite a cool process. It's funny, like the first few days he came on set. I mean, he was real professional and whatnot, but it wasn't until like a few days after we started filming, he was like, "Man, I'm starting to like what we're doing. This is really cool." I didn't quite, I wasn't really quite like sure what to expect, and now I'm like, "Man, this is really awesome." So it was kind of funny like that, because we brought him on like last minute. I think like 2 weeks, a week and a half before we started shooting or something like that. That's how close down to the wire it was, or maybe not that much, maybe 3 weeks to shooting is when we brought him on. So yeah.
Oh, nice. And it's always seems to work out that way, right? Like just little last minute happy accidents and stuff that just in the end product just seem to make it that much better.
Yep. Yeah, no, he was a real gem, and a lot of other actors too. Yeah.
Oh no, everybody in this movie gives an amazing performance. Like I know Justin, who plays Devin, because Justin is my name, so great name he's got. So I remember his name. Great performance by him.
Justin's a sweetheart. I mean, talk about a sweet guy.
Yeah. No, I can imagine just by seeing him on screen, even though he's playing a much different version, a sadistic evil cult
That was
member.
like that was the main challenge with him. That was the challenge with him, was like, how do I make this guy, because he's so sweet, and I was like, I kept trying to like pushing him to be more of a bad guy, right? To have to be more of an antagonist, just to make it that clear. So that was the main challenge with him, because he's such a nice guy.
I can imagine it being hard to get into a role like that. But and Jamal too and Muriel is awesome with her whole little drama going in between Devin and Brian, and Jamal is just hysterical in this movie. Like he had to be really fun to shoot and to work with.
I love Jamal, man. So like, we went through a bunch of audition rounds for that role, and we hadn't anticipated making it, having like adding a little comedic twist to that role, and he just kind of came in the room and had never really acted before.
You there?
With him.
Okay. You froze.
And so, yeah. Sorry, you froze. Yeah. So Jamal's friend drove him to the audition, and so his friend auditioned, and Jamal was like, "Hey, can I audition too?" And so Jamal came and auditioned, and he ended up just killing it. And so we did a quick callback, and that was that set on hiring Jamal. I thought that it was a great idea to incorporate some comedic actor or character to the whole mix of everything. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Yeah, he is just so funny throughout this whole movie. When it came to shooting the interviews, as they're pretty integral scenes and very interesting scenes in this movie before everything really starts going crazy. How did it go about shooting those interview scenes? Were they completely scripted? Was there any room for improvisation by any of the actors, or was it, how did those come about, and how hard were they to shoot and get down exactly how you envisioned it?
So overall, they were pretty scripted. So there's maybe a tiny bit of room for improvisation. I think maybe in the vampire scene, a tiny bit, but the dialogue was very dead on. Yeah, I mean the whole film is very much scripted. Every shot was pre-planned, and even though it's a found footage film, I was very clear on what I wanted shot by shot. However, in regards to how we shot the interviews, I'll tell you right now that it was more or less a one-take shot for each interview, with multiple angles going at the same time. We didn't have much time. We shot this whole film so fast that I think the vampire scene, we maybe did like we shot it 3 times back to back, and then after that, I know Steven was a one-shot thing, and Shiori one-shot thing as well, more or less. So it was super quick. The night of the interviews, we just banged them out and then moved on. So there's definitely some stuff I wish I'd done. I wish I'd a bit more time to work with them back then, but we ended up with something pretty cool. So yeah.
Absolutely, and her her too. The actress who plays the vampire, is a great performance. Like her interview is such a great.
Yvonne nailed it. Yeah, Yvonne, who played Shayla, she did such a great job that night. She didn't even remember that performance. She's like, I just transformed into that character and just I don't remember what it felt like doing it. No, she was super cool doing it. Super fun.
Yeah, no, you can see it.
And her and Toby Hemingway really well off of each other. It really created this really kind of like very strong energy that I really enjoyed seeing. It was great to edit that one.
No, yeah, you could see their dynamic during that interview, and it's an integral part of the film because that's when he gets called out for lying to all his friends, and that's right before shit hits the fan. So it's very effective before all hell breaks loose, to say, in this movie. So very well done with that.
Yeah. Thank you.
What was I gonna? I had another question on my head and then I just forgot it. Oh, okay, yeah, big one actually. You mentioned a little on the special effects, and they look great in this. Now, my favorite horror movie of all time is John Carpenter's The Thing. That whole scene with the respirator in that, I think, is the greatest scene put to film. Like, and I mean, because of seeing that movie so young, and it being a favorite of mine for 20 plus years now, I've always sided with practical effects in movies. In the found footage, I get it. It's harder. They're cheaper to make. And it's mostly, especially like with ghost films and stuff like that, possession movies, it's a lot easier and cheaper to go with CGI. But the blend of both in this movie was done extremely well. Like, so is there anything you could say about the practical versus the CGI and working with both of those?
Yeah, I'll say that we wanted to go full on only practical originally, except for I think a few specific shots, which was like the vampire disintegrating into a skeleton, for example. That was always going to be VFX. But overall, we wanted to go full practical. And then I think that we realized that for the demon, pretty quickly, that just the practical makeup of a few veins just wasn't going to cut it, and so we ended up, while we were on set, we just knew that we are going to have to do VFX on that in post, and so we ended up having playing around with different VFX houses on finding a good look, and then eventually once we found it, that was I was really pleased with that overall, and then. For the Skinwalker, I mean, unfortunately, it's just because we shot so fast this movie. We shot the whole thing in 15 days, 10 days for everything that included the action, the special effects, all that stuff in that house was 10 days, and that's really fast. So for that, the Skinwalker, and that's the part I kind of wish that we had more time to play with is just playing around with some of the transformation phases in the beginning when he transforms from his regular self into the Skinwalker. We had done molds and all kinds of things for a phase 1 transformation, a phase 2 transformation, and then the final transformation, which is the full animatronic suits with eye contacts and all that stuff. And so phase 1 and phase 2 ended up being VFX just because I just didn't get the jaw movement that I originally wanted in certain performance, but we were just moving so fast. And then I'll be honest with you, we screwed up so bad while shooting. We shot with night vision, and we ended up noticing later on that the night vision wasn't capturing our fake blood that we were applying on actors. The night vision literally just turns it into water, like translucent water, all this fake blood. And so our actors were covered in red blood, and the floors were bloody as hell, and you don't even see that in the film. And that was gut wrenching. But I was like, man, this movie was gonna be super bloody. And it just isn't because of that reason, and so that's the main regret I think on that film is having shot night vision, not knowing because of our very tiny monitors that were very shitty with the Wi-Fi and whatnot in that giant mansion. We just couldn't really get playback, so we were shooting on GoPros and just moving fast, so we didn't kind of catch. Oh, I think it. Hello?
Yeah, you froze for a second.
Sorry, we cut out there for a second.
StreamYard does this. Yeah, that's it's got to be so hard too.
Hello?
Because I can. Yeah, you hear me?
Oh, there you are. I hear something. Hello?
Yeah. StreamYard will sometimes you get little disruptions like this. Could be the Wi-Fi between us two. You hear me though?
Shoot.
1 second. I'll be right back.
JT, can you hear me?
How about now? Hear me now?
Hey there, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now. You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes. It happens with StreamYard sometimes. Probably just because like pretty much everybody on YouTube uses it.
Oh.
So I'm sure it's the connection and everything. My apologies. But no, yeah, that had to have been hard to not have the blood like show up and because of the way that it was shot with the night vision. But because hey, I love gore. I'm a slasher and is my favorite subgenre of horror. So
I'm
the more
hearing
gore, the
you.
better.
Yeah,
For me.
it was jumpy now, but now I hear you. Is this?
Yeah. And so yeah, I'm a big slasher fan. All right, yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna come back in. There we go. People in chat, can you tell me if I'm delaying or he's delaying? Hey, you hear me now? You hear me?
All right, let's try this out now. Hopefully it works.
I like the visor.
Yeah, I can hear you.
You hear me now?
You hear me?
Good.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, Jasmine. Someone in chat said that they can hear me. Can you hear Victor also, Jasmine?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
Okay. All right. So yeah, hopefully we're getting better.
Right,
I was starting to feel like
sorry about that. I don't know. I'm up in the mountains, you know.
No problem. I understand.
Oh shoot, I forget where we were. I think I was talking about the blood.
Yeah.
That's what it was. So I can pick it up from there. So we were drenching our actors full of blood. I mean, there were like it was sticking all over their bodies every night. Because we were shooting overnights, and also on top of that, when we did the reshoots, we also forgot to apply blood during a vampire action sequence, and I was so bummed because that was such a cool scene. So, anyways, there was supposed to be a lot more blood in that film, and especially when it came to the vampires. And so I was a little, just looking at it, I'm like, damn, every time, like this would have been just so rated R, and we done with it. So that's the main regret is that.
Yeah, like just imagining the movie like that, because what I was trying to say when we were getting broken up, as slasher movies are my bread and butter. Like that's my favorite subgenre of horror. So maybe another reason I just adore practical effects like so much, especially like from the 80s and stuff. But just seeing all the effects work in the movie as it is very impressive. and in the short amount of time, 10 days, you're saying that you were able to do it. But just the CGI work that you had to do blends with it very well. Like I've seen a decent amount of movies, especially in found footage, that has a mix of both types of effects, and the practical can look good, and then just the CGI just can suck me right out of it. But the work that you guys did on this movie with both together, it really looks awesome. So even without the blood, like, even though I'm a gore hound, I'm a slasher fan, I'd love to see, that version with blood just all over the place. It's really just effective as it is. Like, so it could be but doesn't really take anything away from even knowing that it was supposed to be that way.
Right. Yep. That's good to know. I'd still beat myself up about it.
Yeah, I'm a musician for over 20 years, so like I'm a perfectionist when it comes to certain things, mostly like with music. So it's just no matter how many tries and recordings and stuff, and it's just I could have done that better. Like that note right there could have been better.
Yeah.
And every time you hear it, it always just that recurring thought. And it's like, I wish I just changed that one little thing, and it never ends. So you just, at some point, you just have to, all right, I did everything I could, like in the time frame I had and everything with the budget, and it still came out great.
Oh, that's good to know, man. Thank you. Yeah, it's funny because we shot a lot of it out of order, and so we would just destroy a whole area with blood, and then clean it up to shoot what was happening before that, and then have to redo the blood the way it was. It's just wild, man. It was yeah.
Any favorite? What are your like influences, director wise? And part two, your favorite horror movies?
Was the first question? Sorry, it was who's my favorite horror director?
Yeah, like who's your biggest influences when it comes to directors?
So my favorite horror film is Evil Dead 2, and tied with that is Sam Raimi. So Sam Raimi, having directed Evil Dead 2, just such a masterpiece of cinematography and the use of camera and special effects, and that's really where I kind of fell in love with film, was Evil Dead 2, and therefore with horror films as well. So that's basically it. I mean, there's such a beautifully horrific film. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Evil Dead 2 is my favorite film in that franchise, and Evil Dead franchise is one of my favorite franchises in movies. Just because it has not let me down yet. Like, just the first three films, the remake, we love, and the Ash vs. Evil Dead series was amazing too.
Yeah, it was all Ash vs. Evil Dead was like too clean for me. It was too clean. The cinematography was too pretty. The casting was too comedic. It was too over the top for me. It's like I like over the top, while it's also really horrific. It's like it was both extremes so far out combined at the same time. Whereas it's like I just feel like Army of Darkness and the TV show were it just leaned too far towards the comedy and side, and not enough on the horror side, and wasn't grungy enough. That's why I like the Evil Dead remake by Fede Alvarez. That was like still very dark, and it lacked some comedy, but at least it was the darkness that I'd seen in Evil Dead 1 and 2 was there. But we'll see what they do with the new one, Evil Dead Rise, I think that's what it's called. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, Evil Dead Rise. That's what I'm worried about ruining this perfect property for me. But hopefully we get something good. But I can definitely see that, because I know there's a lot of different Evil Dead fans. There's ones that prefer the horror, the more dark ones, like the original and the remake, and then there's ones that enjoy the more lighter side and buffoon Ash of Army of Darkness and the TV show, that they mix a decent amount of that into the show. So I can totally see people who don't care for the show and Army of Darkness as much. And then that's why it's my favorite too. You get just the best of both worlds with Evil Dead 2.
100%.
Yeah, and Sam Raimi is just an absolute master. Like, I do like long form videos where I'm just discussing a movie, and that's like pretty much most of my videos on this channel. Like I covered the whole Evil Dead franchise. They were all like almost 15-minute videos, just because like
That's
there's
awesome.
so much to
I'll have
talk
to check
about.
those out.
Yeah, no,
I'm
thank
curious to
you.
see what you have to say about them.
Oh yeah, it's just that just between talking about Raimi's directing and camera work and everything to the performances and the effects and there's just and the making of the movies and just the fact that Raimi is such good friends with Campbell that he could just completely fuck with him all the time. Like you could see their friendship so well in the movies and stuff. And like I've seen like making ofs and stuff. I'm sure maybe you've seen behind the scenes stuff on it on the making of the movies too. But Sam would just totally mess with Bruce. Like he would just be like, all right, I want you to go dance with these skeletons, like when filming Army of Darkness. And what? And he's like, yeah, are you serious? Yeah, no, I want you to start dancing with these skeleton women. And then he'll have him do it like 2-3 times. Just look down at the like DP and be like, I can get him to do anything. Like, and just hearing those stories just adds so much to the movies.
That's
like
awesome.
when you go back and watch them, like it's so interesting, so great to see like a friendship like that on screen.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I know you did a film or a segment of a anthology horror film, Dead List. I haven't seen it yet, so I'm kind of ashamed of that. But I definitely have to catch up on that movie.
Not at all. That was like kind of the warm up round to the Monster Project. I did that right before we shot Monster Project, and yeah, it was fun. It was me and two other friends, two other buddies of mine. We just just put a few grand each into this movie, and we went out and shot it, and we shot it. And then that was about it. I mean, it was fun, I think I did a clown segment, and then I did a witch segment, and it was that was cool. We shot it over a few days. Basically, it was like a day per segment or so. It was fun. It was a good experience. It's definitely a lower budget than the Monster Project, even though Monster Project is really low budget. But that was like we just really like went down and gritty, like with whatever we could find. And but it's fun, you get really creative like that. It's a good exercise in creativity. So it's a fun little watch, if you have time. I'd recommend it.
No, yeah, I definitely will be checking it out. I knock out a lot of movies. Oh my god, I just started the channel like 6 months ago now. It's just turned around 6 months. And I think I've covered over like 250 movies. And like I said, like most of my videos are pretty long. Like,
wow, congrats.
Describing could tell you, like half hour I've talked about Suspiria, Halloween, The Thing for over an hour. Like it's just like I said with Evil Dead, just like there's just so much to talk about. And I just love discussing horror movies and film in general. But speaking of horror anthologies, did you check out or like found footage anthologies? Did you watch VHS 99? Or what do you feel on the VHS movies?
I only watched the first watched the first two VHS movies, not the latest one. No, I haven't had the time yet. So I just had a child, a newborn, who's now 2 months and a week old. So that's why I've also like been hard to respond. So I apologize, but it's just it's kind of it's been tough watching any of that that genre, like the horror genre, while my partner was pregnant, and then now with the newborn, I've been kind of staying away from that genre a little bit, except on occasional on the rare occasion where I'll find myself in my man cave or something like that, and I'll put on a cabinet of curiosities or something like that.
There you go. No, congratulations, man. That's awesome. Like absolutely awesome to hear that. I have a 8-year-old boy, and just she's something.
Oh, nice.
Growing into something. She's got my personality, and she has a lot of energy. So definitely can understand that and not being able to watch it. Man. Definitely check out.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster.
Oh yeah, absolutely a roller coaster. Definitely check out from this year. It just came out in October. Deadstream. It's directed by a husband and wife couple, Joseph and Vanessa Winter, it is like Evil Dead 2 found footage style. Like that's the best way to explain it. Like the
Deadstream.
way Deadstream, yeah, it's on Shutter on Amazon Prime. You can get a Shutter subscription on that.
Okay, I'll check that out. That sounds great.
Yeah, probably my favorite. Probably my favorite found footage movie of the year. Like
yeah, for sure. Deadstream. That sounds fun. Deadstream. Oh yeah.
So, and the way that it's
I might check it out tonight.
Yeah, there you go. It's I can't recommend it enough because it's just the way that they blend the horror and the humor in that is just masterful, and it feels just like Evil Dead 2. That perfect blend of just being able to weave in and out of horror and then just into absolute comedy, back into horror without missing a beat. And I asked VHS 99, they did the final segment in it this year, the same director couple. So they are definitely on my list of upcoming directors to keep my eye on because I can't wait to see what they do next. So yeah, if you have a chance, definitely check out that movie. Any future plans or project you're working on in the horror genre by chance that we can expect anytime in the future?
We'll see. I'd love to keep working in the world of the Monster Project. I think there's a lot of opportunities with the Skinwalker that I really wanted to explore as a prequel. Yeah, I really wanted to do a prequel story of the Skinwalker. There's a whole scene that we shot in the desert for the beginning of the film that we ended up completely cutting, but we had this whole kind of like sacrificial pit that we had created for as if like a huge Skinwalker showdown happened, and Jamal and Devin just showed up there like a day or two later, and we just ended up cutting that from the film just because it just made that intro scene in the desert so long, and it just dragged on the whole film, and it was ready for the film to move forward. So the Skinwalker for sure, or something like that, something in that realm. We'll see. And there's a few projects that I'm working on that are more in the drama genre right now that I'm on the producing side of. So we'll see where that goes. And then I live in Los Angeles, so I also work in the live immersive event industry, and it's kind of really cool. It's like basically like being in a real life horror video game, but in person for an hour to an hour and a half kind of experience. So I'm working on a few concepts right now to create a big production here in Los Angeles sometime in the next year or two. Probably in the horror science fiction genre. So we'll see.
Nice, man. That sounds great. That would be awesome to see a prequel involving the Skinwalker, like for sure. So get on that. Like
that or a sequel. Yeah, I'd say the more fans start showing up for the Monster Project, because I feel like it's kind of growing a little bit on people. So the more of you guys start voicing your love for that film, the more chances I'd say of us seeing a sequel in the next few years. Yeah, I'd love to do that more than anything else. So I'd love to give it a second shot and doing something even more badass. I learned a lot doing that one the first roundabout. So I feel like on the second go around, with all that knowledge I acquired doing the first one, would be something pretty sick.
Oh, for sure. Then we can also get all the blood and everything that unfortunately was missed from.
We'll get all the blood, and we'll get creatures finding one another as well. Those would be the two goals. Yep.
That sounds awesome. You brought up video games
and some creature showdowns.
Oh yeah, a huge creature showdown. You mentioned video games. Are you a gamer? You play horror games or all that? Resident Evil?
I play video games on rare occasion when I have the time. I recently played Elden Ring, which I really enjoyed very much. If not, I'll play looking such a good game. I really enjoyed it a lot. I finished it.
I challenge Dark Souls series. Like I do no level 1 runs, no roll runs, and like all of that for blood. All the From Software's games. They're the only games I play anymore. Like so. Awesome that you played Elden Ring.
I just bought a Dark Souls game at a store somewhere. I forget which one it is. Thanks, man. Yeah, no, it's so sick. Best game I played in a while. I just bought one of the Dark Souls games. I think it's like, was it like or is it Bloodborne? I forget, one of those. So I'll start
Yeah,
playing that
Lawrence
at
from
some
that.
point in the near future, and I'm looking forward to the new Dead Space. Really, really looking forward to that. So I'm a huge fan of Dead Space.
Yeah, no, that Dead Space is a great series too. Um, Anything else that you want to say about the film or anything for people who are in the chat or people who will see this video later in the future?
Yeah, actually, I'd say that there's quite a bit of content online that you can catch in regards to the film. So there is a prequel kind of mini series, like web series that we did for the film that was part of a viral campaign, a viral marketing campaign that we did for the film just before it came out. And it's basically Shiori's, who's the demon in the film, her whole backstory of how she became possessed, and also in found footage style, and also mostly in Japanese. So that was really fun to do, and it's definitely, I would say, on the much scarier side than the Monster Project, even though we did it on a smaller budget for sure. But it's like, I'd say, a good 50 minutes long total. It's 11 episodes that total to about a 50 minutes at least, 50. And so that's really fun and pretty terrifying, I would say. So I challenge you to watch that at night. It does some of it. A few small moments don't make so much sense without the viral marketing campaign right now, because a lot of it had clues to move forward in that kind of game that we'd created online. And then on top of that, there's a making of on YouTube of that's about like an hour long of the whole process that it took for us to make the film and some of the challenges that we encountered. And I thought, if you're a filmmaker, an aspiring filmmaker out there, I'd say like we really share some of our struggles and regrets, and also some of the things that we learned, and also some of the great experiences making the film, and some of the process that we had, some of our organization and planning. So I'd say that's it's a fun little video to watch, and also pretty instructive if you're looking to make your first feature film.
That all sounds awesome, man. That show, as you see up on the screen, Jasmine said, and I totally agree. The web series sounds awesome. That prequel story, I might watch it like right after we get off here. I know I got. I've been
And you'll
covering
see that you'll.
Go ahead,
So it's
go ahead.
called Smiling Man, and you will see the Smiling Man show up for sure in that web series. You'll see him in the Monster Project. You only see him, kind of pop up in static. In that web series, you'll see him in full body form. So it's kind of fun. That was another thing that I'm like, oh man, we probably should have done something more with the Smiling Man and showed him in full form. And so we did that with the web series.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely.
And a shout out to my friend Louis Tan from Mortal Kombat for being in the web series. Did me a favor there. That's you might recognize him there.
Another great series, man. I grew up with the Mortal Kombat series also, and even still play the new ones that come out from time to time. But I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I just want to say thanks so much for coming on, man. Thanks. It's been a pleasure being able to talk to you about this movie, because, like I said, it's a film I recommend to any found footage fan who has never heard of it, and even, like I said, people who aren't found footage fans, just as a way of trying to get them to explore the genre a little more. That it's like they're not all the same. Like there are some that really just go for broke, and it works amazingly in this film. So thanks for making it, and thanks for coming on, man. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks a lot, JT, man. I appreciate it. And thanks for taking the time to talk about the film. And I'm glad you liked the film. And hopefully you'll see a sequel or a prequel of sorts in the near future. And shoot me a message after you see the Smiling Man. Let me know what you think. I think it's a fun one. But yeah, thanks for your support, man. And I'm sorry about the internet latency. But hopefully you can piece it together, or hopefully it works out. I apologize.
Not an issue, man. It happens. And funny little thing before we go. I noticed in the chat I have little sex bots that show up in chat sometimes on YouTube. And I was just talking about this with a friend of mine from Britain. I was on a stream with him that I usually go on with him pretty often, and some ended up in his chat. And I made the comment. I said, well, that's how you know your channel is getting there a little bit. Like once you have sex spots in the chat, start elevate a little bit on the YouTube channel list.
Yeah, you're getting there. Yeah.
But again, man, thanks so much, and I definitely will shoot you a message about
That's cool, man.
All right, guys in the chat, thanks so much for tuning in. People see this after the video pops up and is there forever. Hope you enjoy it. If you haven't seen the Monster Project, Echo, I'm looking at your comment. Definitely seek it out. It is on Tubi. And yeah, again, Victor, I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for coming on, man. And guys, thanks for watching.
Sounds good, JT. Take care, man. Thank you, guys.
No problem.